luckily for you, I know where to begin.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things you missed in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 3.
You think the Wakandans forgot about it?
It's a rhetorical question. They didn't.
He's out of line, but he's right. I love these.
For this list, we're looking at the Easter eggs, comic book references, and MCU callbacks you might have missed in this episode of the Disney Plus series. Since we'll be talking about every detail, beware of big spoilers flying your way. Which of these flew under your radar? Let us know in the comments. Number 10, a bar fit for Wolverine.
Lay low, blend in, enjoy the party. Try to stay out of trouble.
As Sam and Bucky are walking through the streets of Madripoor, they spot a sign for the Princess Bar. This was one of Wolverine's go-to establishments within the Crooked City in the comics. During a time when he was wearing an eye patch and going by the extremely creative nickname Patch, he once met up with the Hulk at the Princess Bar. If Sam, Bucky, and Zemo had gone in, would they have found Wolverine grabbing a drink with Professor Hulk?
I'm kidding. I know, it's crazy. I'm wearing shirts now.
Well, since mutants like Wolverine haven't been introduced to the MCU yet, that meeting would be unlikely. But the Princess Bar still stands as a great callback to our favorite Canadian X-Men member.
Tonight's winner and still king of the cage, the Wolverine.
Number 9, Bucky Gets Payback. Bucky finally got revenge on a man who wronged him in the 3rd episode. And no, we're not talking about Zemo. When Sam gets in the back of a car, Bucky seems unwilling to move his passenger seat up for Sam.
You're not gonna move your seat up, are you?
No.
This extremely petty moment is a great callback to Civil War. While the duo is waiting for Sharon to give Steve his shield, Sam refuses to move his chair when Bucky's in the backseat.
Can you move your seat up?
No.
Let this be a lesson to you. If you're sharing a car with Bucky, either move your seat or be prepared for him to take extremely petty revenge against you about 7 years later.
You couldn't have done that earlier?
I hate you.
Number 8, Sam doesn't go left. During a shootout, Bucky scolds Sam for not going left.
I thought we were gonna go left! You went the wrong way! I cleared the way!
Although it seems like an odd complaint, this directional mix-up just continues a long and literal running gag within the MCU. Steve Rogers showed off his athletic prowess by saying "on your left" whenever he zipped by Sam on their exercise route.
Don't say it! Don't you say it!
On your left.
Come on!
Falcon notably borrowed that phrase when he returned for the final battle against Thanos in Endgame.
Captain Sam, can you hear me? On your left.
After that epic entrance, Bucky probably assumed that Sam would approach battles from the left from that point on. Hopefully, they will be better coordinated the next time things go left for them.
That's perfect time! You did the barricade! It's in every action movie!
Number 7, Sharon has an extremely famous Monet painting.
Well, at some point I thought if I had to hustle, I might as well enjoy the life of a real hustler. You know how much I can get for a real Monet?
Easy, deactivate your hustle mode. You sell fake Monets.
No, she means real.
It turns out that Sharon has a very good eye for stolen art. If you hit pause when Sam Googles a painting, you'll see what appears to be Monet's Women with a Parasol, Madame Monet and her son. This particular piece is one of the famous painter's most acclaimed and personal works. In the real world, this piece sits in the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. Its current location in the MCU can be interpreted as a subtle metaphor for Sharon Carter's life. Although she and the painting supposedly belong in America, they've both been forced to remain in a foreign land outside of the reach of the law.
I don't speak to my family anymore. I can't. My own father doesn't know where I am.
Number 6, Carly may be more brutal than her comic book counterpart. The leader of the Flag Smashers is definitely a 3-dimensional villain. Within the span of the 3rd episode, we see Carly grieve for a loved one and talk about her dreams for the future.
I always thought I'd be a teacher, like Mama Donya. Maybe like history or art or something.
Although we sympathize with her, we also notice another dark parallel to her comic counterpart. The comic version of Flag Smasher caused an explosion in a UN building during his debut. Although it's unclear if he hurt anyone, Carly fully acknowledges that she may have taken lives when she set off her shocking explosion.
There were still people in there.
This is the only language these people understand.
At this point in her villainous career, it appears that her evil acts are outpacing her comic book counterparts. we might be sympathizing with someone who's already gone too far down a dark path.
Because this world is ours. Should have been Mama Donya's. And we're going to use all of our strength to give it to the kids in those camps.
Number 5. Smiling Tiger's connection to Madripoor.
Wasn't expecting you, Smiling Tiger.
His plans changed.
When Sam goes undercover in Madripoor, he pretends to be Conrad Mack, a man who goes by the subtle nickname Smiling Tiger. The name is shared with a comic villain who sports dangerous claws and mostly spoken growls. While Sam imitates Smiling Tiger every time he gives someone the silent treatment, there's another parallel between the hero and the villain.
You're taller than I'd heard. Smiling Tiger.
In the comics, the Smiling Tiger was part of a villainous group called the Folding Circle. The villains eventually end up in Madripoor and try to grab as much power as they can. It seems like the show's version of the character has a history in the city too. Hopefully, Smiling Tiger never discovers that Sam tried and failed to imitate him there.
Sam, I'm sorry. Let me call you back.
Sam? Who's Sam?
Number 4. The touching significance of Troubleman.
I told him about Troubleman. He wrote it in that book. Did you hear it? What'd you think?
I like 40s music, so...
You didn't like it?
I liked it.
The idea that Bucky might not love Marvin Gaye's Troubleman is largely played for laughs. But it might mean much more to Sam than he let on. He mentions the time he recommended the album to Steve in Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Marvin Gaye, 1972 Troubleman soundtrack. Everything you missed, jammed into one album.
But it notably appears once more in the film. After battling his brainwashed best friend, Steve ends up in the hospital. When he wakes up, Sam is sitting next to him as Troubleman plays in the background.
On your left.
Every time Sam hears that song, he may think of the moment Steve woke up after nearly losing his life. Marvin Gaye's words underscored an extremely touching reunion back then. That is likely the biggest reason Sam is so attached to the album now.
Everybody loves Marvin Gaye.
I like Marvin Gaye.
Steve adored Marvin Gaye.
You must have really looked up to Steve.
Number 3. Zemo and Carly might team up.
Fair.
Okay, Zemo. Where do we start?
We never thought we'd see the day where Zemo teamed up with superheroes. But there's actually a precedent for this in the comics. Tony Stark once relied on Zemo's team, known as the Thunderbolts, to capture supervillains. However, there was a twist to this good deed. The Thunderbolts would give supervillains the option to either join their team or end up in jail. In the show, Zemo seems pretty intent on stopping Carly.
I ended the Winter Soldier program once before. I have no intention to leave my work unfinished.
But is there a chance that he might actually recruit her for his own purposes? It's unclear if his hatred for super soldiers or bad blood with the Avengers will motivate him more. But we know one thing for certain. Sam and Bucky better keep a very close eye on Zemo.
I, for one, am looking forward to coming face to face with Carly.
Number 2. Wilfred Nagle was even worse in the comics.
Dr. Nagle?
Who are you? What do you want?
We know you created the super soldier serum.
Get out of my lab.
In his very brief time in the MCU, Wilfred Nagle proved himself to be one of the most morally bankrupt characters we've met. He saw human beings as little more than science experiments, and himself as a god because he used Isaiah Bradley's blood to make a new super soldier serum.
After much labor, I was able to isolate the necessary compounds in his blood. I was a god.
While Nagle used samples in the show, he personally oversaw experiments on black soldiers in the comics. The results of the doctor's tests were often gruesome and sometimes even caused people to lose their life. Although Nagle wasn't there to conduct the initial tests in the MCU, he's still twisted for being complicit in a super soldier program that's caused so much suffering.
It was 5 years later. The program had been abandoned, so I came here. The power broker was more than happy to fund the recreation of my work.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Io returns.
I was wondering when you were going to show up.
At the end of the episode, a trail of Kimoyo beads leads Bucky to Io. She was notably the member of the Dora Milaje who was willing to fight Black Widow back in Civil War.
Move.
or you will be moved.
Ayo also stood beside T'Challa during the events of Black Panther.
Come on. Ayo, the king!
This loyal warrior first appeared after Zemo took the life of King T'Chaka. Since she was there to see his son T'Challa grieve, she definitely wants to see Zemo fail. Even if Wakanda hasn't officially ordered Ayo to act against the villain, she once left the Dora Milaje to do what she believes is right in the comics. Anyone who stands in her way of getting justice will be moved.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.